So hello, everyone, and welcome to the Allegheny County Policing Project launch talk with the Grief to Action team. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Nora Mattern. I'm the chair of the Year of Data and Society Initiative at Pitt. And to those who are joining who may be new to Pitt or visiting virtually from outside of Pitt, I wanted to offer just a little bit of information about this year-long engagement at the University of Pittsburgh. So each academic year, the university identifies a theme that unites us in some way for programming and activities on our campuses. And this academic year, our theme is data and society. This is providing us an opportunity to think critically about the data that we collect, that we use, that we leave behind as traces. And together, we're thinking about the societal implications of data and its uses, recognizing that data can both empower and marginalize individuals and communities. The projects that we're going to learn about today is certainly an example of empowerment through data, and we're deeply grateful to the Grief to Action team for sharing their time and work with us today. There will be opportunities for questions of the team. We ask in the meantime to be sure that your microphone's off just to avoid any audio interference while the team is sharing their work. And the team will be introducing themselves. So with that, I'll really warmly welcome you to this event, express my thanks again to the Grief to Action team, and turn it over to Dr. Sara Lenardi.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here on this cold day right after a very warm day. So I am going to share my screen. Okay, so if everybody is able to see my screen, great. Okay. So this is the CAASI Grief to Action project, and I will it will be like I'll present a little bit, and then it will basically be a panel with Blair Michaels, Eliana Beagle, Michaela Chandler, Yongsu An, and Patrick Razi, who's all members of the Grief to Action team. Okay. So just a quick intro about what CAASI is. So CAASI is the Center for Analytical Approach and Social Innovation at the University of Pittsburgh. It's founded in fall of 2019. So I founded it to create a community of learning and practice. So practice is really important in the center for people who are passionate about specific social justice issue. And as you will see here, it's around policing. In order to develop together and deploy online tools. And then on the research part, incubate ideas for research projects. So these are some of the projects that we've done, but the one that I want to talk about today is the Grief to Action project at the end. And the Grief to Action project started after George Floyd's murder in June 2020. And it's a student, staff, and community initiated project against systemic racism. Everything that we do is virtual, and so it's open to everyone. They only have to email Ivy Chang at caasi@pitt.edu for a Zoom link. And so far, we've had more than 150 volunteers join us, and we've met almost continuously every Friday since June 2020. So like 15 months, about 150 volunteers so far. And the way we work is like with this Friday meetings, we have a constant time for problem scoping, to meet with the community, to just have everybody see each other, and we start with mindfulness. So we spend some time there. It has a very flat structure. We try to not speak in jargon so that we could really get to know the issues and have everyone speak freely. And then we break into prototype development. So then we have individual specialized teams. For example, we have data collection, content team, engagement team, tech team. And then we get feedback through user studies, presentations, articles. And now we're also having a class. So we will be having a class at GSPIA called Working with Public Interest Technology and Civic Data, which is basically based on this process. So some of the products that we have launched this year is the 412 Connect project, which the Year of Data and Society were very kind to invite us to talk about this earlier in the semester. And then today we'll be talking about the Allegheny County Policing Project. The team is, Patrick can drop the link to the team, but the team is a lot of people. So here we only have some of the people that basically send us photos in time and or like wanted to be on the website. But we have many, many more people, as I said, and we are partners with Campaign Zero, Take Action Mon Valley, and Western Pennsylvania Regional Data Center is always like, supporting us, helping us from the very beginning and everything. We thank funding from the Pitt Cyber Accelerator grant and the Pitt Momentum grant for this. Okay, so let's get to the story. So the story here is about police misconduct and its relationship to accountability and citizens' attempt to understand or engage better with this accountability process. As you will see in the talk, the accountability is related to legal protections. They're in provisions, and these provisions are in contracts. But these contracts aren't really easy to read or easy to get to or easy to analyze. So there's a lack of transparency there. And then to add on top of that, there's also political fragmentation in Allegheny County. There's 130 municipalities in Allegheny County, and this complicates the entire picture. So we're going to try to tell a story of the context and then show you how it then became this design for this data platform. There's 3 features in the data platform, and we're going to talk about it from the bottom up. So we're going to first talk about the Pittsburgh Misconduct Complaint FAQ, and then we'll go into the police contracts, the second feature. And then we will talk about an interactive police department map. Okay. So this is all of us, and then I'll read mine, and then if each of you, the presenters, can like unmute and just like read and introduce themselves. So I'm Sara Lenardi. I started Grief to Action as the director of CAASI. I was a computer scientist at Adobe Systems working on the PDF library before I studied economics, and I'm an associate professor of economics at GSPIA. Blair.
And hello, I am Blair Mickles. I am a current GSPIA student, a member of the Allegheny County Policing Project. I also have the distinction of being a firefighter, which kind of puts me in a unique position. Military veteran, community organizer, and also a MSW student as well.
Hi, I'm Eliana Beagle. I am one of the project managers for ACPP along with Michaela, who you will hear from in a moment. I'm in the MPA program at GSPIA, majoring in public policy, and I'm particularly interested in prisons and policing and mass incarceration.
I'm Michaela Chandler. As Eliana said, I'm also a program manager with ACPP. I joined late fall, early spring of 2021, and I am also a student at GSPIA. I'm getting my master's in public administration.
Yeah, I'm Yong-Soo Han. I'm a PhD student at SCI at University of Pittsburgh. I've joined our team in fall 2020, and I've been working as a ACPP tech and research team member.
Hi, I'm Patrick Gavazzi. I am a CS undergraduate at Tufts University up in Boston. And I joined as a tech team member this end of this past summer in August. And I have also been working a little bit with the research team.
Thank you so much. Okay, so great to have all of you here. Okay, so we're going to start talking about the context side of things. So let's dig into the student stories in detail. Okay, so Blair and Eliana have been with Grief to Action the longest, like basically since the start of the BLM summer. Can you tell us a little bit about why you joined and your role in ACPP?
Yes, absolutely. So growing up, I grew up in a public safety focused household, the daughter of a police officer. in one of the neighborhoods here in outside of Pittsburgh, but within Allegheny County. And as most kids that look like me will tell you, we had to have the talk from my dad, which was a little bit awkward coming from a police officer teaching us how to, even if they're doing stuff illegal and they're doing stuff wrong, comply just so you can come home alive. And also growing up to go into public safety myself as a firefighter, I have that honor, if you will, to actually work around adjacent. So I get to see sides that a lot of people don't see as well. So I've always just kind of accepted it for what it is and just realized, okay, I know things are different for me. I don't have the same privileges that everybody else has. And then after George Floyd's murder, when Grief to Action formed initially, I saw this little thing pop up because I realized, like, why? Why do I have to downgrade myself to a second-class member of society when I'm out here doing everything that I should? I, too, have been approached and treated badly by the police officers. I've been pulled over at gunpoint, thrown to the ground while my car was illegally searched. I did not know what to do about it. A lot of other people do not know what to do about it. And I would like to think that I'm fairly educated. And right now, I don't necessarily know who to go to depending on where I'm at. I don't always even know who I'm interacting with. What police department is this? What borough am I in? For instance, me driving to class every week, I have to drive through multiple municipalities. I drive through no less than 6, whether it be McKeesport, Duquesne, West Mifflin, Homestead, West Homestead, Munhall, and then I'm in the city, and I might have just left one off or two. And that's just one-way commute. Depending on traffic, and if I take a different route, that might be 5 other towns that I go through just to show up to class. So if something were to happen in one of these municipalities that maybe I don't live in, but I commute through, there's a chance I might get pulled over in Whitaker by an officer that is not even in Whitaker because of the way they mutually work together and so forth. So I would have a hard time as just an everyday person knowing, okay, what police officer did this? Where was I? And what are the procedures in this particular municipality? So for me, all of that's culminated into my interest in this project. And what I would really like to see is other people like me that are going through these neighborhoods and commuting and just going about their daily lives know where to turn if something should happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Blair. So for sharing your story. So one of the first community meetings that we came to was Take Action Mon Valley. And at the meeting, we learned about basically a lot of the difficulty in understanding the police accountability process. So as Blair was saying, on a practical level, the citizens weren't sure if something happened, where to go to, or what would happen if they filed complaints. And on a more systematic level, leaders and even organizers and policymakers were sometimes not really sure what rules they were dealing with. So let's talk about this one at a time. Michaela, so can you help us understand, like, what is the citizen's perspective here? What is a misconduct? And then why is the ability to file so important?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so to start, just some background, what exactly is police misconduct? The California Innocence Project defines it as illegal or unethical actions or the violation of individuals' constitutional rights by police officers in the conduct of their duties. And that can range from a wide variety of different actions. That could be false arrest, assault, or even failure to provide services. And there's really limited data on how common police misconduct is. Multiple sources estimate that over 1,000 people are killed by police in each year, with 98 of those deaths resulting in no criminal charges on behalf of the officer. And this likely represents only a small fraction of the amount of police misconduct that's happening, but it's hard to know. A national data set established by the FBI in 2019 only contains data on about 40% of US law enforcement officers. And all of that data is submitted voluntarily. So there's a lot of limit in the ability to study and quantify this problem. And the lack of transparency is not just an issue for researchers. Obviously, it also works to erode public confidence in the police and the rule of law. regaining the public's trust is, I mean, not only a good normative standard that we should hold our police to generally, but it's also vital for police to do their job and to properly serve the needs of the public. And so this is an issue that community activists have been focused on for decades, and it has become definitely more salient after George Floyd's murder last summer. And so we sort of wanted to work to further these efforts here in our region. Bokar Bar, actually a researcher out of Chicago who helped advise us on this project, has found numerous barriers that block marginalized groups from filing complaints. So for example, if an office is only open during business hours, a citizen might have to leave work early or take time off to go file. And for some people, that results in smaller paychecks, which isn't always an option for low-income families. And additionally, if the Bureau requires you to file in person, that can be really intimidating for people, especially those who already have that low trust in police, like people of color, or you may not be able to speak or write in English, so filing becomes nearly impossible. And civilian complaints are really the most direct line of accountability for citizens. And so removing these barriers can be greatly helpful in helping us understand police misconduct more broadly.
Awesome. Thank you, Michaela. So what is the process of filing like in Pittsburgh, and why is it confusing?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the city of Pittsburgh, there are two governing boards that review police complaints. One is the Office of Municipal Investigations, and that's operated by the city. So citizens file complaints directly to the city and they handle it internally. Or there's the Citizens Police Review Board, which is an independently run group, and that is managed by civilians. The hard thing is that both of these groups manage police complaints differently, have different processes, funding, oversight, and even disciplinary power. And so it can be really confusing for people, especially in Pittsburgh, to understand what they should do when they want to file a complaint. It's often unclear to the public what pathway is best. Different stipulations of their situation can dictate which one is better for them to file with. And so having these long, confusing processes are really difficult for a lot of people to synthesize that information. On the screen here is a screenshot from the Pittsburgh Citizens Police Review Board, one of the groups that accepts police complaints. And so, if you are looking into filing a complaint and this is the level of information that you're being given, that can be really confusing and complicated to get through, even when you have had experience or know sort of how the process works. And so this motivated the first of our projects, which we worked on with our community partners like the Alliance for Police Accountability, ALC Court Watch, and Take Action Mon Valley, with the goal of just creating a place for the complaint process to be comprehensive and easier for people to have all of the information they should need, and make that as accessible as possible.
Thank you. So this is one side of it. This is more the citizen side. Eliana, can you tell us a little bit more on the other side? What it's like for people who are interested in, say, the legal provisions?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm waiting for the next slide. Great. Okay. So when people think about police reform, they might not think of unions immediately. But looking at these police union contracts is actually really, really important, because they sort of set out the rules of what police are or aren't allowed to do. So the role of every union is to, protect the members of it, to make sure that they get good benefits, et cetera. But police contracts in particular have a lot of language in it that is not typical for other unions, that really gets in the way of accountability. And we'll get into that more later. But it's really, really important because the vast majority of police do belong to a union. So they are protected by these specific rules. And again, like I can't stress enough how important it is that there be accountability. Like numerous researchers have actually established that misconduct rates will rise given the absence of accountability. So quick look at a police contract. So this is from Pittsburgh, and we'll be mostly talking about the Pittsburgh contract. So the name of the municipality, and then the name of the union that they're bargaining with. So Pittsburgh uses the Fraternal Order of Police, the FOP, which is one of the largest police unions nationally. And it will also say the term of the contract, which is another really important part, is that these are actually renegotiated every few years. So they're not set in stone. So there is the possibility that citizens can advocate for them to be changed. And
how do you get these contracts?
Yeah. So they're not always made publicly available. In fact, most of them aren't. But they are, the public is actually legally entitled to them because they're government documents. Pennsylvania has a right to know law that allows you to request government records. And we have an Office of Open Records. I have the little website there. It's very helpful. And you just fill out a form, email it. You might have to send it by actual paper mail. But yeah, they are available. And again, as I'm sorry if I said citizens earlier, but residents are entitled to this information. So I encourage you to check that out and get NEBI.
Okay, so these police contracts are like public data that, like, you know, there's some barriers to getting them. You have to file this RTK, and then they look like this, and so they're like hard to read. And then, you know, that they're very crucial in policing. So how many of these contracts are we talking about, Eliana? Like when Blair is driving all over Allegheny County, like how many maximum do we have to deal with?
Right. So as I think someone mentioned earlier, there are 130 municipalities in the county. Municipality meaning like cities, boroughs, township, just the catch-all name. So we have Pittsburgh circled in the center there. And then you can see 129 other municipalities surrounding it. And to make it even more complicated, not every municipality has its own police force. So just because you're in, random example, Reserve Township doesn't mean that a police officer you interact there is actually like a Reserve Township officer. That's a random example, so I don't recall off the top of my head. But some municipalities are covered by state troopers. They're covered by Allegheny County Police. Ohio Township covers a bunch of different municipalities. There's 108 police departments, and we have managed to get 99 of those contracts, which took months and a lot of hard work. Yeah, so just to sort of show you like what we're dealing with in terms of political fragmentation, is that there's just really different demographics throughout the county. So you have townships as small as 74 people, and then you have Pittsburgh with 300,000 residents. You have places where the median income is below the poverty level. And then you have places where people are making almost $300,000 a year. So that totally affects the level of funding available, right? Yeah. And as you can see here, the county is very white. You can see that most of the county has like 90% white population, but there are also municipalities that have a majority of Black residents. So again, you know, it's
sorry guys, I don't know.
No, it's okay.
Okay, I'm back here.
Yeah, cool. So there's a lot of diversity in the size and the population and the funding they have available. So another chart, this is the number of full-time police employed. Some places have fewer than 4. Pittsburgh has almost 1,000. It's all over the map, so to speak. And another one, this is the percentage of municipal budgets that are allotted for police contracts. So some are spending under 10%. And then you have municipalities that are spending over half of their annual budget on police services. So just completely different levels of funding, numbers of police officers, and they all operate differently, right? Because they have different contracts. So yeah, it's very complicated.
Okay, yes, it's very complicated. So this is like a really large number of contracts, and we'll get back to this story of how Eliana and Michaela and the team managed to get the contracts. But let's go back to fall 2020, which is when we didn't have this contracts, and we were wondering how to start, right? So this is like, we wanted to start something. It was going to be a data platform, but we didn't have the data. So we decided to turn to something that we could start collecting data for, which was about the misconduct complaint. So Michaela, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you able to go to the next slide, Sarah?
Right. So the tool number 3, the complaint FAQ.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so as Sarah was saying, originally when we started this work back in fall of 2020, we got connected with a national group called Campaign Zero, and we were able to get access to a lot of their data. And those included some major city police contracts. And so we're looking at, Seattle, San Francisco, big cities across the country. And one of our team members, Dr. Jesse DeFusco, actually did a meta-analysis and broke the complaint process into stages across contracts that exist in all bureaus. But because we were working with national data, it was more vague and lacked a lot of the local context that some of our community partners had struggled with here in Pittsburgh. And so obviously the experience here in our city is going to be very different and needs different information than, what's happening in San Francisco. And we were in a position to be able to comment on that because we are in this region. And so we wanted to create something that was hyper localized and could get sort of into the weeds of what someone needs to know in our community, because we were able to provide that nuanced information more than maybe a government website would be able to. And so we partnered with a computer science capstone in the fall of 2020, who were advised by Dr. Yuru Lin, another one of our faculty advisors, to create a tool that's shown here on the slide. So this is our Pittsburgh misconduct tool. It breaks the process into 5 categories: interaction, complaint, review, investigation, and result. And each bubble has its own frequently asked questions breakdown, just to give some more information on what happens in that stage and then also what you can expect. So for example, on this stage here, it's the interaction stage. And if you look, there's those 5 frequently asked questions there at the bottom. And those are aimed to provide specific answers and contextual information on how the complaint process within Pittsburgh specifically works. And so this is really specific to the Pittsburgh Bureau. As we discussed, Allegheny County is incredibly fragmented, as Eliana was saying. And so this obviously is not going to be the same process across all municipalities. And that's something that we've definitely learned and experienced in our research. And so hopefully, as we move the project forward, I think a big step in that would be to add the same sort of framework and process to some neighboring municipalities that also have their own sort of set of rules for police complaints and what that process could look like as we move further with the project.
Thank you, Michaela. So this is when we started applying for IRBs and conducting user studies. And after a few user studies that Michaela and Yongsoo also was on the IRB, they conducted those studies. We went on to expert user studies, which is when we start bringing in people who might be actually using the tool. So Blair was a part of the team that helped Michaela with the expert user study. So can you say a little bit about that, Blair?
Absolutely. Of course, we had this amazing tool. We thought, this is wonderful, but we really wanted to kind of see what the real world uses and potential implications and so forth could be. So I can't speak too much about the spring one because, I am a student, so I missed out on that one thanks to class. However, this past fall, we did a user study with a varied group ranging from judge candidates to people that are working in community organizations that help people that are, a lot of times when something does happen, they go to these individuals in their communities. And us being academics, we were just like, yes, this is awesome, we've got it. But then we started getting, the feedback from the real people that will be using this. And some of the things that we had to tweak a little bit were, we love words, we love explanations. We can read paragraph upon paragraph, hence some of our homework assignments. But they did say that it was a little bit too word heavy. So, okay, maybe a lot. So we did break it down into smaller text blocks and making the text a lot more descriptive. And that's when we really started including more of sort of the infographics and other things that were a lot easier to people. We cleaned our map up a little bit because a lot of people in Allegheny County, myself included, can't tell you exactly where everything is in the county. If they were looking at the map and they see something, they won't know. For instance, Eduardo called out Ross Township for their spending. They might see that big dark block and not realize that this municipality that is spending this much is Ross Township. So we made it a lot more user-friendly. because a lot of them, like I said, people are going to them and they need to be able to use this data appropriately and be able to use this tool appropriately to help the people, especially when half of the county says, I've got an issue. What do I do? Go to XYZ person, because there kind of is that person here in the county that everybody goes to for police issues. There's like a handful of people that people will go to.
So
So
Blair,
yes.
we have to cut down a lot of the text, right? And so what you see right now on the website is the result after doing a lot of this. We've cut down a lot of the text, and after using this user studies. So we will do more in the future, and like hopefully improve the site from there. But like, thanks so much for giving us a perspective of what the user studies were like. So while all of this was going on, like Eliana was doing contract analysis, and as you guys have seen, like the contracts are fairly complicated. And so can you tell us something, Eliana, about what someone interested in police accountability would be looking for in a contract?
Yeah. So just upfront, our project is modeled pretty heavily after a project that Campaign Zero did, a national police reform organization. They got access to almost 100 contracts for some of the biggest cities in the United States. And with legal experts and criminal justice experts, they went through and identified 6 different categories of problematic language, 6 different ways that these contracts can serve to limit accountability and transparency. So I can go through a little bit of that problematic language. I don't mean to sound happy about it. All right. So Michaela introduced us to those 5 stages of filing a complaint, and I'll just show how this language can apply to those stages. So at the review stage, and this is all from the Pittsburgh contracts, so we're picking on them specifically. When any complaint is filed more than 90 days after the date of the alleged event, they might simply throw it out. So maybe it happened 91 days ago. Whoops. You know, so that right off the top, they might be disqualifying people's misconduct complaints, which is, you know, concerning. During the investigation portion, if your complaint does make it to that point, officers are prevented from being interrogated immediately. So in Pittsburgh, the officer will be given a 24-hour notice if they're going to be interviewed. So they get this heads up of like, you might be in trouble, which, you know, the average person would not get that if they were going to be interviewed by police. And when they do actually do this interview, excuse me, before it even begins, the police officer must be notified of the nature of the interrogation. So if it's a very serious complaint and there's a possibility the officer might be arrested or charged or anything, they actually have to inform the officer of that before it ever starts, which again is not something that the ordinary person is entitled to when they speak to police. All right. And another way these contracts can limit disciplinary consequences is the Pittsburgh contract prevents the city from making any public statements about these investigations. So a police officer in your city could be accused of doing something really, really terrible, and the city legally cannot tell you about it. Fifth way, these contracts typically require, I think all of them require the cities or municipalities to bear some of the costs, the legal costs related to this. So in Pittsburgh, legally, the city is required to pay $100,000 every year into a general legal defense fund. And just, this is not the only legal expense in there, but I just chose this one in particular. Michaela mentioned the Citizens Police Review Board, the Office of Municipal Investigations. This money can be spent on that. So if you pay taxes in Pittsburgh, you're actually paying for them to investigate the complaint you filed. And if you go through all of that, They investigate it, they determine that your complaint was founded, they do give discipline to this officer. Even then, there are clauses that prevent this information from being retained. So in Pittsburgh, if you do get disciplinary action and a written reprimand is put in your file, they can only consider that for a period of 3 years. After 3 years, that will be removed from your file like it never happened. So, you know, obviously a really huge problem for people who would like to be tracking the behavior of problematic officers. It's a safety issue. Yeah, so very grateful to Campaign Zero for identifying those categories, and very happy to be able to apply some of that analysis to departments in our county.
Thank you so much, Eliana. So this gives us an idea on how to look for it if we have one. But how did the team got to collecting 100 of them?
Right.
Of these contracts, yeah.
Yeah. So we mentioned the right to know request. Some municipalities, we just emailed for the contract and they sent it to us. Most of them, we had to submit these right to know requests. So we had to go through with this enormous spreadsheet. What's the name of the right to know person? What's their email? What's their phone number? Some people, they said, oh, you got to mail it to us. Some people said, okay, we can give it to you, but we got to charge you 25 cents a page to photocopy it. So we'd send them a check for like $6. So it took about 6 months, but we got there.
Amazing. So Patrick, thanks to the tech team, all of this stuff made its way to the website. So I am going to go to Patrick. And can you talk about what this contract page is like and how this connects to the searchable library?
Of course. So we wanted a way to easily search for problematic language in our contracts. So we implemented a contract search tool, which has 2 different options of ways to search. The first way, option 1, is to search by keywords that we previously identified through extensive research to be problematic and to show up in a lot of these contracts. So some examples here are false arrest, interrogation, defense insurance. All of these we have previously identified, and you can search for these keywords in the tool. And we have a little explanation of and description of an example of how they're being used. Or let's say you find a new word that you think, oh, this might be a problematic word that shows up in a lot of new contracts, and you want to analyze that. So we have also implemented a search bar, which is a pretty standard search bar you see in many websites, that will search through all the contracts, all the 100 contracts we have on the site, and show you anywhere that this new word might appear. So this a little example of how you might go about searching using option 1. So we have put all 6 categories from Campaign Zero up on the website. And let's say you want to click on one. So if Sarah wants to go to the next slide. Yeah, let's say you want to click on unfair access to information. Then once you click on it, you get all the keywords that are related to that category. So for example, here in unfair access information, we have identified interrogation and accused to be under that category. And we have also an explanation, or not explanation, an example of how this keyword might be used in a contract. Now, let's say we want to search for that and see how it might appear in other contracts. So we can click this search button and it shows all the contracts that have the word interrogation in our database. And let's say we want to look closely at maybe Bellevue Borough. So we click on Bellevue Borough and we are brought to Bellevue Borough's contract page, which has a full copy of the police contract, and we can go over some of the other information on here too. But if Sarah wants to go to the next slide, we can show how option 2, manually searching for a contract or for a keyword. On our contract page, you can directly click on this link right here. And once you click on that, that will take you to our search bar, which we have the option to search for just one keyword, or we have some more advanced instructions, which you can search for multiple keywords in the same contract, or search for multiple keywords and see how they might come up in at least one of the keywords would come up in a contract, maybe see how keywords are related, or how categories of keywords are related. And then if instead we want to search for maybe another predefined thing at the bottom, like let's say this time we search for false arrest, we click on false arrest. It throws it into the search bar. And once again, we can click on Bellevue Borough to look at the contract page. And once we click on that, we're brought to Bellevue Borough's contract page. And as I was saying, we have a full copy of the contract on here in both PDF and text format. We also have options to download both the PDF or text format of this contract, so you can keep a personal record of it.
Sorry, guys.
And if you want to go back one more, I think. Yeah, and also here circled is this overview, and that's just other information that Eddie and some of our other research members have collected. And this is just other information about a police department, such as the number of full-time officers or the percent of the budget that's going to the police departments. And it's really cool because this is a very customizable option. And if we collect more data later, we can add more fields in here. Like say, maybe we want to add a field to see if this police department has a police bill of rights. And just another quick explanation of why we chose to put both a PDF version and a text version of each contract on our website. We did this because the PDF version might look a lot nicer, but it's not always as searchable, or you can't copy and paste things sometimes from PDF if it's not a clickable PDF. So we also have a text version of the file so you can manually search through it, and you can actually copy and paste this text if you need it to send it somewhere.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I'm sorry, I'm such a bad driver of slides. It's like when I press it goes like 5 slides and I have to go back. So thanks so much, Patrick, and Eliana for talking about the second element, which was the police contract element. And so now we're going to talk about the police department map, right? So when the tool, the search tool allows you to look at the department one at a time. But if you were like Blair driving across and you were living like spatially through Allegheny County, you might want to know how the space, how these contracts are in the space and like who you're dealing with within that space. So that's why the map. And in a typical like grief to action way, we crowdsource things. We work with multiple capstone classes. We take the work from one and we pass it on to the next class. This was created first by Tosa Nadoki, who is a GSPIA student in my R data visualization class. So like working with the data that the grief to action team collected, he built a map. And then it was in R. And because our website is in Python, then Patrick took that code and then put it into Python. And then Yongsoo wanted to go further with it and expand it. So then he puts it into JavaScript. So that's kind of like how everything works in our team. Yongsoo, would you want to take it from here?
Yeah, sure. So I can talk about the map component in our tool. So as another part of our tool, our team implemented the map components. So whenever people are wondering about the police departments or the relevant information with respect to region of interest, but they are not really sure about what to search, they can come to the map component, and our map interface can give the overview of the police department geographically so that they can easily locate and look into the relevant information. And also they can interactively look through the contract keywords. So
next slide.
Yeah. So we made this exploration available with several components. Once users get on the map page, the next. Yeah, they can look at Pittsburgh area in the interactive map. So that the map is highlighted for like 6 regions with different colors. then they give us a good geographical approximation. And when users click on the region of interest, the tooltip displays information about police departments. Yeah, the next. Such as budget spent or number of employees. Then if users are not sure about how they can locate the region of interest in the map, they can go to the region list on the right side. And then, yeah, they can look up the municipalities they are interested in the list. And also, we provide a set of keywords on the map interface so that users can see how probable the keywords appear over contracts of municipalities. For example, next slide. When a user is interested in like Crescent Township, they can select the corresponding region. But also next, they can see in the tooltip where we highlighted the keywords and contracts about the region of interest, for example, unfounded interrogation, false arrest, public comments. Then people may be also curious about what about other regions. So next, then we when users go to the contract keywords part, they can select specific keywords, for example, interrogation, and then the regions with the keywords appearing in their contracts are highlighted as blue color here. For example, if a user wants to compare with another keywords, next slide. Then, for example, false arrest, you can see that there are more number of municipalities that has false arrest keyword in their contract. Next slide. Then when people want to look into the details about the specific contracts or the whatever information about police department, we also provide the link to the contract detail page that Patrick introduced us, and also the link to police department website.
Thank you so much, Youngsu. So thank you for taking us through the three components of the website for the team: the misconduct, FAQ support, the contract search page, and the keyword guide, and Youngsu for the interactive map. We have demoed the tools to some of our community partners, and we're happy to share that some people think that it's useful. So we demoed it to Campaign Zero. We got back in touch with them, and then they're happy that we started this project. Fawn, I think Fawn's here. Hi, Fawn. She
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for being part of this project. An important thing that Take Action you're here, Fawn. Do you want to talk a little bit about the importance of data for the smaller municipalities?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you all for coming to our meeting, especially Blair because Blair's in POC. Thank you all, for coming to the meeting and listening to us, for one. A lot of people will reach out but actually don't listen, but you all actually listened to what we said we needed the data for and then actually ran with it. So shout out to y'all. Thank you for reaching out and listening to us. The tool, I'm sure will be extremely helpful, especially to people who are in the smaller areas. Blair, when she shared her story in the beginning, kind of touched on it. And we dealt a lot with it this time last year in December, when there was an officer shot and the police responded by over policing us. But it wasn't just one police department, there was over 10 of them. So when it came time to file complaints, we didn't know who. Was it McKeesport? Was it the county? Was it Braddock? Was it Monroeville? Was it the state? Was it the feds? Because there were police everywhere. And when you have over 100 different municipalities in a big county like Allegheny County, and no one has accountability. So we just got the police review board passed, but you have to opt into it. So each police department handles their own complaint process differently. Some is done online. Most go to the chief. some have their own form of a police review board. None is the same. So you have to find out how each one is done. And then we have people that come to us and we take them to file these complaints, and the grief and the stress that they go through having to relive that is traumatic in itself. So this tool will be very helpful to look and see the complaint process for each particular department, as well as the contract, because of course that can guide how some of these police departments respond to the complaints. So it'll be extremely helpful. I appreciate the fact that it's just not a city of Pittsburgh tool, but it's an Allegheny County tool, because a lot of times we get lost in that, just thinking about the city. Meanwhile, we're out here, these areas outside of the city. If you really look at police homicides and police violence, majority occur outside the city because there's no accountability. Cops can move from department to department so easily and freely. So this tool will be very helpful for that. And thanks again to you all for listening.
Thank you so much, Fawn. Thank you so much for sharing. So to wrap up, Patrick, can you share where you think we would like to go next at ACPP?
Of course. So our future plan for this and what we are hoping to accomplish is to make a plugin so that people can make contract search tools and contract tools, map tools, complaint tools for their own counties. And the way they would do this is they would need just two things. They would need a bunch of contracts from each of the police departments in their counties, and also a separate file with maybe some extra information, maybe how many police officers are in each department, how much budget is going to each police department. And then they put all of that in the same folder. They give it to our code, and our code spits out this website. So it's highly customizable, and it's super simple to use. Anyone can do it, and that's where we're hoping to go with it.
So that's the hope. So we need help. We need future volunteers.
Yes, and definitely come join us. It's a great time. Even if you're here for just a week, that's great. It's a week or it's a year. Love to have you. We love all of our volunteers. Some of them are from Pitt, and not all of us are from Pitt. I'm from Tufts. We have community members. We have grad students. We have undergraduates from all different universities, college students who had just graduated. So it's a great time. I've learned a lot, especially whether you're interested in doing more policy-based research or doing more technical work. We'd welcome anyone.
Thank you so much. So that is all from us. Thank you for the ACPP team for presenting, and for all the ACPP team that is here for being part of this, and for the audience for supporting us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to the team. I wondered if there's time for a couple of questions from the group. Yeah. So we'll open it up, and if it's okay, Dr. Lenardi, maybe you'd be open to facilitating these questions.
Sure.
I'll keep an eye on the chat. If folks have questions, feel free to raise your hand.
Or just unmute.
Or unmute.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to ask a question. Would you folks consider making the resources available in other languages other than English?
If we have the volunteers to do that.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Do you want to repeat the question first, Eliana? Repeat the question, and then maybe so people can see it.
Oh, yeah, about making this available in other languages. Yeah, that had come up before, that particularly Spanish, and I'm sure with Casa San Jose, Spanish would be very useful. So yes, we do not have the volunteers yet. We have thought about it, and it's really great to know that there absolutely would be an audience for that. Thank you, Laura.
So Jessica Kaminsky, hi, Jess, ask if there's any info on University Police System.
So, because, sorry, no is the answer. We haven't really figured out how to get them yet. So even the public universities, like Pitt is a public university, you still can't actually submit a right to know for that in particular. And then the private universities, like Duquesne, Carlo, the government right to know doesn't apply to them. If anyone has an idea about how to get them, we are all ears. But I mean, yeah, actually, since you mentioned that, there are so many other police forces that aren't even municipal. Like the hospitals have police forces, there are school police. So there's always more work to do.
Thank you, Eliana. So Kaya, thank you. Kaya is our volunteer from Vibrant Pittsburgh. Kaya says, bumping Melissa's question, Sarah, is there a way to cite the database to track use? So I think Bob Craddock is here. He'll probably know about that. And also Ryan Champagne talk about like a DOE and to do this. Do you know how to answer that question?
Yeah, I don't know if I have the answer, but I would say that like digital scholarship or your university librarians would probably be the place to ask how to put the citation together. So putting a citation on a website would be, suggested citation would be a really nice thing to add to. So, Justina just volunteered to help. Thank you, Melissa. Jessie the Fusco, she is also one of our volunteers. Is that a question, Jessie, about the mental health implication of victim filing complaints? Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Sure. So I left Pitt and took a tenure track position here at UT Dallas. It's just been incredible to get to see the work that, the students in particular have done with all of this since the inception. It's been incredible, and the incredible mentorship by Dr. Lenardi. And, I shared about this with my team, which we have a huge criminology department, and they are just they're so hungry to get to see this, and they're just thrilled at the work. But two, they just want to see how we could support any research based on this work so that, you can get this kind of highlighted. And one of the things that really came out of this when I was sharing this was, oh my gosh, what is the mental health ramifications of someone who is going to file a complaint, whether it's internal or external? Like that must just, and it was brought up, by the team, how scary a process that must be.
Yeah, like Fawn was just saying there, right? Sure.
Yeah, and so that, when we looked at the literature, like we were like, wow, there is like absolutely nothing there on this. And like Blair and the others have done incredible research on mental health, programming for police to support minimizing social injustice in policing. But it's not really there about what's that actual process. And somebody brought it up that it might be very similar to, attrition rates of reporting rape. Yeah. So we're very, very interested in all that you guys are doing. So.
And thank you, Jessie, for your support. I mean, Jessie was, as I put down there, one of the people breaking down this in the very, very beginning when we didn't know what we were doing. There's a question from Jeremy Olin on using this for future negotiation. And then also Bob and I wanted to plug out the class that is coming out of the Grief to Action process. It's called, Bob, could you drop the link there? It's called Working with Public Interest Technology and Civic Data. So as a lot of the members can tell you, a lot of the members in our group have never worked, the technologist has never worked with the policy people, and the policy people have never worked with technologists. So this was a huge learning process for everyone. And we think that this class would be very useful for everyone who's ever thought like, hey, I'm working in the community and I really want to make a change. And I think there needs to be a tool for this, but I don't know how to build it. And I don't really know how to talk to a technologist on how to build this. So that is that's the class that Bob has just shared the link there, Public Interest Technology. And then, Nora, we're out of time. So what do I do now?
I guess, well, we're happy to share out the recording to folks who might want to folks who attended, if you want to revisit it or spend time with the project or share it. But maybe Dr. Lenardi, if folks have follow-ups, is it best to email the CAASI email address? Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much to the team. I think, gosh, there's such amazing work here, such a contribution. Thank you to your contribution to transparency here. It's really tremendous amount of work that is just really valuable. Thank you. And thanks for contributing to the programming for the Year of Data and Society. What a great example of using data for public good. So thank you.
And thank you, Nora, for inviting us at the Year of Data and Society. And again, thanks for all our volunteers. We could not do this without you, like every single one of you, and I really mean it. So everyone, thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend, and please email us with any interest, CAASI@pitt.edu. Thank you.
Thank you.